So investment banking is a very broad term. When you're looking at banking, you have investment banking, you have merchant banking, you have commercial banking. So investment banking becomes a very broad term. Even if you're raising, let's say, a share, as in when you're getting a company listed in the market, whether you're raising debt capital, equity capital in broader markets, M&A deals, etc., everything is going to be a part of investment banking. But when I'm looking at venture capital, it is going to be predominantly investing in startup space. So in newer companies, newer age companies. See, what happens is if you're owning 100% of the company, or if you're owning 80% and 20% is owned by your children, let's say, or your wife or something, it does not matter. But if you're owning 70% of the company, 20% owned by your family members, relatives, etc., and even 10% is owned by retail investors. Of that 10%, I have 100 shares, somebody has 500 shares, somebody else has 1000 shares. You can't do insider trading because then you are disadvantaging those minority shareholders because they don't have that information. You know the stock price is going to increase. Based on that, you are buying shares out from those minority shareholders in the retail market and you're pumping up the prices. Or you are basically ultimately the minority shareholders or the small retail investors. They actually get screwed in this process. You can't do that. It is illegal and unethical both. And if 100% is owned by you and your family, then where is the insider trading happening? How will you pump up the prices and do all sorts of nonsense? AI is not at that level where it can analyze stocks and give you an accurate answer. It is not there, and it will not be there in the next 2-3 years at least. Because stock analysis requires a lot of things. AI is not in a position to analyze stocks today. It can help you, it can aid your work, but there are a lot of places where AI is not working properly or not giving accurate results. And when you're looking at investing lakhs of rupees, I'm assuming that you're not going to be investing 10,000 rupees using AI based answer. If you're looking at scale, you'll not be able to use AI to take decisions right now. It can help you in making certain aspects of your work faster, but even then the inaccuracy and all is a major challenge. In stock investing space, we are not in a position right now to use AI to give decisions for sure. There's a lot of factors. There are too many factors involved which AI is not going to be able to comprehend in terms of how people are feeling. For example, what if you say that everybody wants to, it'll be amazing for Tata Nano to launch and you're giving a car at 1 lakh rupees. Would AI be able to forecast that in India, owning a car is something of a matter of pride, and the way the branding and everything was done with Tata Nano, it did not work in the favor. And because of that, it was a massive failure when you're looking at Tata Nano. The perception was very, very bad, the way it was created for Tata Nano. So AI would not be able to probably understand that. So definitely in terms of stock selection, we're nowhere there in terms of AI at the moment, at least. So see, I posted something around this also. So the idea is whenever you're taking advice, so I unfollow anybody who's selling me shortcuts, who's asking me to be lazy, or who's asking me to spend money on nonsense. That is one. Second is I'm always going to be looking at the conflict of interest. So Alia Bhatt comes and promotes Perk and Cornetto ice cream and everything. And then she comes to another crappy show and she'll talk about, sugar nahi khana chahiye, it is very bad.
अच्छा नहीं है sugar.
क्या बोला तूने?
You pay them a certain amount of money and they'll promote anything. I mean, I'll take a few names. Ankur Warikoo and Akshat Srivastava, for example. They said invest in Vault, a crypto platform. Ankur Warikoo said Vault mein dalo and FD se better return आएगा. 300-400 crore रुपया खा के बैठ गया that company, and he got 4.5 lakh rupees to post a story. So now when you're looking at these things, so there is a conflict of interest. If I were to take an advice in terms of investment, I'm going to be looking at somebody like Warren Buffett. किसी कंपनी का औकात नहीं है उनको पैसा दे करके बोलने का कि ये स्टोरी डालो और इसको प्रमोट करो. Are you understanding the idea? I got on people to keep on reaching out कि brand promotion करना ये करना है. I had posted on Instagram एकदम अच्छे से my opinions are not for sale, because the moment if I take money and recommend something, my recommendation has got no value, right? So you have to see the experience, the expertise, the education, the credential of the person from whom you're taking advice. अगर उसका काम है content create करना, तो he will see understand how, because we study जब तुम जैसे rating agency का business model देखोगे, how is a rating agency going to work? If I'll pay a company and tell him कि मेरे को अच्छा सा rating दे दो, so obviously there is a bias ना, so we study these things. So that's why the behavioral, the psychology part also becomes very important. So a content creator will have to get more and more views. And how will you get more views? When you say things which people want to hear, or when you say things which people should hear, when you say things which people want to hear. तुम उसको बोलो अरे पढ़ाई लिखाई करने का जरूरत नहीं है, बैक बेंचर बनो, चिल करो लाइफ, you will do very well. But will you show the statistics? that what percentage of college dropouts and what percentage of college graduates are millionaires. वो statistics देखोगे तो तुमको समझ में आ जाएगा. You will extrapolate, let's say, a Steve Jobs or a Mark Zuckerberg, but what you don't understand is that Steve Jobs was attending classes which he did not even enroll for in the college. Mark Zuckerberg was learning coding and learning throughout the night, and the day and night he was learning coding and everything. तुम वो कॉपी नहीं करोगे. तो whenever these influencers are promoting all this sorts of crap, you need to really be very very careful today. And जो shortcut बेचेगा तुमको बहुत अच्छा लगेगा. That is why there are so many scams and booms and busts and all that happens. Shortcut बेचेगा, you'll get very excited. अच्छा 20 days ये कर लो fund manager and start earning so much in stock market. Do you think any mutual fund manager is going to be वो 20 day का course करके that fund manager level पे पहुंच सकते हो? तुमको लगता है ऐसा होगा? So be realistic. So evaluate these things: experience, education, credibility, expertise, and whether there is a conflict of interest or not. Shortcuts will not help. The MBA is a course on management, CFA is a course on finance. In MBA, you have multiple papers. You take up a finance specialization, which gives you more number of papers in second year, particularly in the finance space. Now, there's a lot of applications, I think, which we've discussed over the last 1 hour. And it is also about, where you land up. So Steve Jobs' Stanford speech, you can only connect the dots backwards. So you have to see what is, say for example, if you're doing an MBA right now, you see what is the best alternative or the best opportunity you're getting. Based on that, you get into something and then you carve your path forward. So there was this video I had posted with Aditya Khemka. So he's a fund manager. So it happened that he got a job in the treasury department of a pharma company at the beginning of his career. He's also into did CFA MBA. And then he went on to becoming a pharma equity analyst. And then he moved into becoming a pharma fund manager. So it's going to be over the years that you'll be able to see how your career is being chalked out. So you cannot exactly decide that, okay, this is the hottest job, therefore I should do this. I know these kind of posts are very popular, the highest paid jobs and most amount of money in this job or in this industry and all. That is absolutely very ridiculous way of looking at it. For example, when I had left my job, I was working on weekends and I was teaching on Saturdays and Sundays. On weekends, and Monday to Friday I was doing my job and I was enjoying my job thoroughly. So I was really happy with that, because I was, I would rather be in a classroom than taking a vacation on the weekend and weekend getaways and all. I thought that let me try and let me just quit my job and come back. And I saw people double my age when I was teaching with my job over the weekends, that people were enjoying. So that's when I took a call. So you can't take a decision based on those that, okay, there's a highest paid job, therefore I should take this. You have to see based on what you enjoy, what you're good at, what you like, what are your strengths, also what are your weaknesses, if that creates a major problem in doing a particular job. So accordingly, you take a career decision, and you don't know how things will be evolving. For example, somebody who's gotten into indirect taxes. Now, when the GST came, your entire sales tax, excise and all became redundant. You can't say that, okay, I should not choose indirect tax because of that. If your concepts were strong in indirect taxes, you'll be able to understand the GST laws even better, and you'll be able to see the transition. You'll be able to become an expert in that and work very well. Whether you're able to save GST or taxes for your client or not is what will determine how good you are in that field. So the objective is being really good at what you do, liking what you do. And liking what you do, I'm not trying to, romanticize those kind of things that I like to travel or I like to watch Netflix. You can't do that. Please understand that. So you cannot enjoy as in you like something. It cannot be as lazily enjoyable as watching a movie and building a career out of it. That does not work like that. I'm good at playing games, so I'll become a professional gamer and all. You have to understand the statistics. You have to see the volume, the proportion, how good you are. What is the number of people out of the, let's say, lakhs of people who are playing a PUBG? How many are professional PUBG players? How many make money in the PUBG profession? So just by looking at an article that PUBG professional खेल करके इतना पैसा कमा लिया, you can't just extrapolate like that, right? What is your ranking in the world and how much money are you making? So when you're looking at careers and career decisions and lucratively paid careers, you always go down to the basics. You have to be good at what you're doing. You have to like what you're doing. You won't enjoy it like lazily eating and watching Netflix. But the enjoyment will be when you're enjoying the subject. I love finance. I enjoy teaching. I love to interact with students. So you have to understand that. But obviously, it's easier to sit in front of a television than this, right? So you'll have to check the lecture on YouTube. There's an entire lecture series on the first class of CFA. There's a syllabus we've discussed. So in fact, the subjects we discussed today: quants, financial reporting analysis, derivatives, fixed income, ethics, economics, these are all subjects in a CFA exam, because CFA is a course on finance, right? So we broadly discuss the subjects in CFA. So we've seen the applications throughout: investor, corporate finance, M&A. So these are the profiles you'll be looking at when you're looking at a CFA exam. You have to understand that CA has got subjects like accounts, tax, cost, law, audit, and finance is one of the papers. CFA is a course in finance. So in CA, you've got a finance subject wherein the chapters could be fixed income. You'll have a chapter, portfolios one chapter, derivatives is one chapter. In CFA, finance is the course. The subjects are fixed income, derivatives, corporate finance, equity, portfolio, fixed income, quants, economics, etc. So you have to understand what the two curriculums are. So a CFA would not be looking at becoming an auditor or a tax consultant, right? Okay, very interesting question, and surprisingly, I've never got this one. So how do I approach a problem? So whenever I encounter a problem, it also depends on the kind of problem I'm looking at. But one is going to be the Gita. So if there's anything that I'm disturbed or I'm confused about, the first thing is to calm and pacify my mind. And most of the times, I'll read a shlok and I'll get my answer. So I generally look at the Gita for any kind of life problems or confusions that I have on a broader level or on a larger scale, a life problem or a life confusion or something. If it is with regards to certain aspects of work, I would pick up the best possible books in that space and try to figure out, because the best of minds, whether they're living or not living today, they'd be able to guide me with that. So that is 2. 3, I would also make sure, along with the book, I'd make sure that I'm talking to somebody who has already experienced in that space. In the sense, if let's say I'm trying to understand something around, let's say, personal finance or so. So somebody who's already 10 years or 15 years senior to me, and who's very, very good and who has done really well in terms of personal finances, I'll talk to him and I'll try to grab a piece of his mind. Because looking back 10 years or 15 years where I am today, he or she would be able to guide me on that, because he's already experienced. He's already understood the right and the wrong of the decisions he's taken. So somebody who has experience and is at a much senior level or is at a level which I aspire to get to. So I would try to talk to somebody like that in order to gain insight into, what decisions they took, why did they take that decision, how did it work out for them, what they would have done differently. And then, of course, I would take my own decision as to how I want to approach the problem. And in the context of my nature as a person, my family, my personal situation, my financial situation, if it's to do with finances, my work-related situation, how I look at my work and how I approach, how I conduct my profession. So based on that, whether it's applicable, the advices I've received or the books I've read, and accordingly I take my decision. But I want it to be very, very personal, and I want it to be very, very, as in the decision has to be mine. The decision has to be exactly my way, how it suits my life, what gives me peace of mind, which gives me the confidence, which makes me feel good about myself. So I take decisions based on that and not based on what people around me are doing. So I'll take advices, I'll read my books, and Gita is there. So if you want a very detailed answer for it, there's an old lecture on YouTube of mine, CA Inter Seminar. Just check that for your articleship. To give you a short answer, you have to first see what are the spaces in which you're getting the articleship. Small firm will give you more holistic feel. A big firm will give you more of the corporate understanding and all those, and along with that, better pay. But nowadays, even the small and mid-sized firms are giving you good pay. And the field, of course, I wouldn't have taken taxation. So I got more of financials and all of those things, compiling annual reports and all those things. So you have to see what you're getting first. And accordingly, you have to make a choice. Of course, if you're looking at finance, don't take up taxation and all. Auditing might still be okay because you'll at least learn how to make, read financial statements and all. So that you'll have to see. Second is, if you're looking at finance, you go for CFA. MBA is a course in management. It will not get into that depth of finance. So, and also you check the first class of CFA and CFA versus MBA lecture. There's a career seminar playlist on YouTube. So you check that, you'll have a much better detailed understanding, because you have to understand, out of 2.5 lakh students who take CAT exams, barely 10,000 students will get admission in the top 10, 15 colleges. So the passing rate that way, if you see in terms of admissions, would be barely 2-3%. So you have to also see the entrance requirement, class 10 score, class 12 score, college score, experience, and CAT score. All the things are going to be needed in terms of the weightages will be given based on getting an interview call. Then you convert the interview, you get admission. So you have to understand these things before you take a call. And you have to have your backup option, or say, for example, you take CAT consecutively for a couple of years, you build your profile in finance, also in order to land up a better job in finance later on after MBA or in your MBA final year placement. So based on that, you take a decision. There's a lecture I had posted, how to begin investing. So if you're looking at beginning investing as a student or even as a professional, working professional, you start with that. It'll give you a broad understanding of ETFs and all of those things as to what are the different avenues of investing. And you have to read and you have to talk to people, you have to interact. And don't get into this gambling habit and all that. I've seen a lot of people getting into it and ultimately burning their hands and then getting out of it. But you have to read. There's no substitute to reading. It's a very broad question. In fact, very recently, we ended up posting, I think, 8 lectures on, not lectures, basically 8 small videos on managing professional exams along with college. So if you want, you can check that, because there's a lot of distraction in terms of social media, a lot of issues in terms of competition, at times even certain toxic culture in terms of college, maybe. A lot of challenges are there. Then whether to do an internship or not during college, how to plan the professional exams, whether to prioritize the societies and all in college or exams. So I've discussed all of those factors and all of those things in that series. There is a playlist on managing professional exams with college. Just check that. I think you'll have a very, very detailed understanding for the same. So now, why are you not interested in finance? And it's absolutely fine. See, as I told you, I'm a chartered accountant, but I do not practice direct or indirect taxes either. I don't file my returns myself. It's not my foray. My space is finance. It's absolutely fine to not like finance. Like, I absolutely do not like taxation. I do not like a lot of things. So you have to again work on your strengths and weaknesses. As I told you, there is a tax guy I know who got into finance, legal who got into finance, architect got into finance, marketing person got into finance. So it's absolutely up to you what you like. So if you like the field of marketing, strategy, product, UI, UX, designing a finance product, for example. So you don't have to always like finance, right? It depends on what field you're interested in, what your strengths are, what you want to do. So you take a call based on that. Say, for example, as I told you, that the person is an architect, but also likes a little bit of finance, let's say, although she likes finance quite a bit. So she is combining those two spaces. So you might have 80% of your job is marketing, but the product is finance. So you have to learn finance in order to be really good at it. And you create a niche for yourself for having that combination of that knowledge. If you don't like finance, it's absolutely fine. So you don't major in finance, then you take up whatever role you want to, or whatever subject that you're interested in today. And if you're confused about that, then you talk to more people. That is one. You do internships in areas if you want. You read books. You understand what does a person do on a day-to-day basis in a particular profile, let's say. And accordingly, you take a call.